Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our review for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. May Salon watch over you. Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-free discussion for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, a planet-sized thanks to our friends at Nintendo Canada for providing us codes so we could play and have this discussion. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, video games, and all things Geekcentric and all things Nintendo. Today, I'm joined by my fellow Morph Ball Master. He's Darcy, the disciple of dread, eater of bread, bounty hunting Hudson.
Nice. I do love me a good morph ball.
I thought you were going to say a good piece of bread.
No, I mean bread too, but morph balls are cool. It's one of the best parts about Metroid.
A morph ball sandwich, you know? What do you think?
Does that mean I'm eating small people rolled up in balls? I don't know if I want that, actually.
How does it even work? You know, we don't even know the science behind how she fits in there.
Well, she's also not fully human. She's, bred with the Chozos, those bird people. So
she's bred with the
genetically enhanced.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Got
with
it.
Chozo DNA. She's a hybrid of some sort.
Well, listen, from one Chozo to another, can you believe we have played Metroid Prime 4, Darcy? The last game came out. Metroid Prime 3 came out in 2007.
Yeah, it's been a while. I was excited to return because I've played all the remasters and stuff like that when they re-released it, and they really seem to love that first game. That one I think has gotten the most love over time. But returning to 3D Metroid is always fun, especially after Metroid Dread a few years ago, which was a fantastic follow-up to Fusion. So yeah, I don't know. It's fun to be back in the world of Metroid and Samus and all things shooty.
All things shooty and all things puzzly and all things they call it retraversal. I call it backtracking, but I know that's a staple. We'll talk about it. But Darcy, I think for myself, I've always enjoyed the Metroid series as a concept more than a complete experience. For me personally, I think the puzzle survival sort of element added into the FPS, the boss battle element added into an FPS is something that, I don't think necessarily early days FPSs really did focus on too much, except for something like the Metroid Prime series. And so for me, I think I've only ever finished one Metroid game, not a Metroid Prime game, but Metroid Samus Returns on 3DS. I got really into that one, really enjoyed my time with it, beat it on my breaks at work. But, I dabbled and dipped my toes in all the Metroids. I think the classic Metroids, I've gotten on the buttons with, gotten on the sticks with. Metroid Prime Pinball was fantastic back in the day on the DS. It was one of the great spin-offs of the series. And I played all three Metroid Prime games, but I've never beaten them. This is the first Metroid Prime game that I've ever beaten. So
congratulations, man!
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have you've beaten all of them, I guess?
Yes, I've had a very different relationship with Metroid, and that it's been one of my favorite franchises since I started gaming on a Game Boy. We had the ports of Metroid and Super Metroid, and that's what got me into it. But the first game I really fell in love with was Metroid Fusion on Game Boy Advance, and from that point on, anything with Samus in it, I was playing. And once they made that jump to 3D, because again, it's a Castlevania, Metroidvania is from Castlevania and Metroid having the same mechanics, and Castlevania made the jump on N64, so you knew it was only a matter of time before Metroid would make that jump as well. And Prime was just a fantastic entry into 3D Samus games. So yeah, I've loved all of them, some more than others. Obviously, I go back and play more Fusion and more of the 2D games over any Prime, but it doesn't change my love of the puzzling aspects you get in these games. They're so much fun.
Yeah, I think the only one that I I sort of picked up and then really didn't get into was the first one on the DS,
Mm.
which Metroid Prime Hunters, I think it was called.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something didn't feel right. They were still figuring their stuff out on the
They were
DS.
trying something new, and
Yeah.
it's again, Metroid like to try things, and then they always fall back on what works, and that's what I love about Metroid. I guess is what works.
And this is we're gonna stay pretty much spoiler free for the entirety of this discussion up until the very end, so you can rest easy if you haven't beaten the game. We're not going to talk any sort of heavy spoilers, anything outside that you might have seen in the trailers. But I will say, you mentioned they're always trying something new, and sometimes things don't work, and so I'm excited to get into this conversation because there are a few things that are new about this that are brought to the franchise that really didn't work for me. But first, let me get to the synopsis. Samus Aran, the galaxy's greatest bounty hunter, must explore the mysterious planet of Viros, wielding new psychic abilities to find a way home in Metroid Prime 4 Beyond on Nintendo Switch. Scan stone statues and ruins for clues on how to progress, unlocking more mysterious psychic abilities as you learn more about the Lamorn, an ancient alien race that once inhabited Viros. Battle abhorrent alien creatures, ride across the landscape on Viola, the Viola vehicle, and confront Psylocke, an enigmatic bounty hunter with a deep-seated grudge against the Galactic Federation and Samus. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is available now on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2. So, Darcy, let's get into this. I think maybe a big place that we do want to start, we've loved the Nintendo Switch. First off, just to quickly get this out of the way, this is we've done, technically we have had video game reviews on through Geekcentric in the past. I think this is our first video game review together, I believe. Am I correct in
Yeah,
saying that?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So huge shouts to Nintendo of Canada for working with us. I'm looking forward to more of this in the future. We definitely want to do more game reviews. But I think the big thing with this franchise coming to the Nintendo Switch, and specifically the Nintendo Switch 2, was how is this game going to look? How is it going to perform? And we both played on Nintendo Switch 2, both portably and docked, so handheld and docked. And I want to talk about the graphics and the performance. I do think that, and tell me if you agree with me, Darcy, I think this is the best looking game we've had so far on Switch 2.
For sure. It shows what happens when you give the dev team enough time with the hardware to work with it, because this runs flawlessly both docked and handheld. The smoothness of the frame rate. I mean, I selected the fact that when you open up the game, you get a performance or quality choice and how it wants to play. And I picked performance and never had to switch out of it because the system could just keep up with that. It's beefy enough now, and it just looked so good. Again, that's one thing that definitely worked this time around, was it looks incredible and it showcases what you can do with a Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I was going to ask you that, like, in terms of which one you found yourself in more, because it does present you with that option right away. I know for myself, I kept jumping back and forth a little bit at the beginning. Depending on whether I was playing in handheld or on the TV, or if I was using mouse mode. I found that, if I was playing handheld, I actually did like to see it in quality mode, just because of how impressive it was and how cool it was. The sort of the feeling of, like, and again, I understand there's people, oh, we have a Steam Deck and we have all that, but shut up, okay? I'm a Nintendo guy. I got my Nintendo handheld, and I've got one of the coolest, most beautiful looking, experiences on a portable Nintendo system, on any Nintendo system for that matter. So quality mode felt really cool, and I thought that performance mode was good, but I did find that it sort of looked a little bit blurrier than I wanted it to. So I did stick with quality mode and portable, but when I went docked or when I was doing mouse mode, it just felt right at 120 frames per second. Playing this game where, again, it is a first person experience, felt right in that mode. And I wanted to ask you, what was your experience like with that? And then did you also try out mouse mode? Did you stick with it, or did you fall off of it like I did?
So it's funny, mouse mode came out for specific things, and it was most of the boss battles. The precision aiming required in some of the boss battles
Smart.
really lends itself to the mouse mode, because the mechanic of locking on is very center of the body, and sometimes what you need to hit is outside of that thing, and you need to adjust your aim. And I just found for those battles specifically, going to mouse mode gave me the quick snap reflexes almost to deal with it, while going through the other puzzles I was able to use hand, like just the controller or handheld or whatever I was doing at the time. So yeah, just I think it's really cool that this game does have the option, like you can play it how you want, whether it be mouse mode or docked or handheld or whatever. Like there are so many ways to play it. It's a really cool experience.
I 100% agree, and it's funny because playing like you want, I still get a bit of pangs from the recent Mario Kart World sort of
Mm.
controversy, if you will, of players wanting to play a very specific way, finding a way to play that way, and Nintendo sort of locking them out of that. But here, you're absolutely right. We're getting all the various options. I think, especially, we talk about console gamers and PC gamers and how we are sort of, even for Nintendo, right? We're starting to move towards this trend of sort of, it's kind of all blending together. It's all kind of becoming the same experience. And, PC people have had the concept of quality mode and performance modes or various levels of modes in the past. Console on Xbox and PS5 have started getting there, and now we are here with Nintendo Switch, with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I did want to talk about the world and some of the design and sort of visual elements that are in this game. This definitely is a Metroid game. I thought one of my favorite things, and I think they may have done this in previous installments, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the coolest little things, and the first thing I noticed, even when we were playing the demo back at Fan Expo Canada or at the Nintendo holiday event, was when the visor comes up, when you look at your map, or when a blast goes off or something, you get that flash of Samus's eyes. I thought that was just so cool.
Yeah, that's kind of a staple of most Metroid games now. I feel like they were doing it in Dread, and I feel like even in the last Prime, we even got to see some of that. So it isn't the first time they've done it, but it is such a nice feature. They are like, it just adds to that immersion. Like you are Samus Aran at this point, because when like you open the map, you're seeing what she's seeing. It's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, and the planet itself of Vuros, we're getting so many different. There's different biomes. I think from what I remember of my experiences, not finishing but playing the other Metroid games, just for clarification, right? I remember there that different biomes and different sort of environments are always a staple to differentiate level to level, and this is no different. We're getting a fire level, we're getting an ice level, we're getting an electricity level. And I thought that the very first moments of the game, I was feeling Halo so much, and I did hear
Hmm.
a bit of a rumor that some ex Halo devs did work a little bit on this game, apparently. And then not only that, but even getting onto into Viros, specifically Fury Green, and it feeling like we're in Pandora, right? Avatar. Like it feels like the world of Avatar, with how lush and green it is. But then we also have moments where I feel like I'm on Hoth. I feel like I'm in The Thing. There's so many different moments. What did you think about the environments in this game specifically?
Super cool. Again, it's kind of trademark for most of these Nintendo Metroid platformer games, that to have these areas that are, again, very segregated to differentiate. And like, oh, in the fire levels, you'll probably get your fire upgrade, or in the ice level, you get your ice upgrade. It's very simple, but the way you have to go about it and revisit and return to things, it's always really cool to find that a new puzzle or a new, oh, I have this thing now, I got to go back and check this area if I can get any more power ups or upgrade and stuff like that. Like it's always cool to return to these biomes, even because you have to go back and forth so many times. It's still engaging. I love it.
Yeah, I do want to definitely touch on the going back and forth, which we're about to in just a moment. But just before I do also want to take a moment just to quickly mention two things. Music. I think the music is excellent. It is there's maybe only one place where I felt like it did feel a little, just a little out of sync with what I was doing, which was I can't remember the name of it, Darcy, but the electricity level.
Volt
Um,
Forge.
Volt Forge. I was just walking slowly or solving a little puzzle slowly, and it's like, and it's like so intense. And I was like, am I fighting a boss right now, or am I just walking down a hallway? So that was the only moment that the music didn't. It was great music, didn't fully match with what I was doing, but I think in other areas, I think they were really smart to scale it back when they needed to, when they need to add that ambience, add that sort of scariness factor, and then of course heightening it up for those boss battles.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
the music has always been great in Prime series, and this one is no different. It really and sets the atmosphere for the most part. I mean, I think I like the Volforge kind of made sense to me. It's like that mechanical industrial sound to it. It doesn't make sense when you're standing still trying to solve a puzzle to have that going, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool to that each area again had its own sound, and when you got into those boss fights, they were variations on the same battle music, or like heightened when you fight another boss again or whatever. Like it's again, they put thought into a lot of the stuff going, like, because you're going back and forth, let's keep it engaging with the new things to find, whether it be music or puzzles or traps or whatever type thing.
And my favorite track, I have to say, is the music over the end credits. I thought that just it was so good. I want to download it. Really good. Again, we're going to stay away from the end of this game until the end of this conversation, but I had to bring that up. Um, and then character design, Darcy. I want to talk about. We've got various different enemies. We've got the, what do they call them? The the grievers, I think is what they're called.
Yep.
There's various forms of grievers. I thought that was really cool. Again, when we get into mechanics, there are different elements play a big deal in this game, and electricity, fire, ice, and
Hmm.
some, your missiles. All of them play a big deal, and so you've got enemies, and I thought it was smart of them to give us variations of a small group of enemies. This wasn't necessarily all sorts of different styles, creatures. It is sort of limited to probably, I want to say, 6 or 8 or so different sort of
Hmm.
creatures that are actually going to run and attack you. Don't get me started on the little ones that you just like are chilling in a room and then one bites you in the butt and you're like, oh shoot, you got to deal with it. There were a few more of those, but Darcy, what did you think of the character design, both for the enemies and for some of our colleagues?
Again, the enemies, the fact that it is a set, for the forms are set for the most part. It's just the elemental variations as you go to different levels is again, inherent to some of these Metroidvania games, because that is just how they can save some space or whatever, or just like save some time by reusing the models and just giving it another color or whatever. And it's easy for us to pick up on that and what'll be strong against the weakness, certain types and all that stuff. Like it is very puzzle based at its root. So keeping it simple in that regard makes a lot of sense. And I think when you mentioned colleagues, it's really cool to see that they did bring some personality to these cold Galactic Federation soldiers and stuff like that. And they all did look different. Even at a glance, you could tell who you're looking at them, despite them all being part of the same army. So that was neat. I mean, whether I liked them talking in my ear or Mackenzie specifically telling me what I was like, I was exploring the desert, man, and I don't need you to tell me to open my map. I know where I'm going. I'll get there when I get there. Chill.
Yeah, yeah, that was definitely one of the mechanics that threw me off a little bit. But let's talk about some of these gameplay mechanics. I think there are a lot of things that really do work. I do have more negatives than I do in terms of anything with graphics or visuals. But let's start with some of the good things. I think from a mechanic standpoint and from a gameplay standpoint, they're playing to the hits in a lot of instances. I think one of my favorite moments, there is an homage to the very first Metroid game where you do kind of beat a boss and there's a timer to get out. I thought that was really really fun and cool to kind of have that sort of they're paying attention and sort of giving that to long time original Metroid fans, or those who have at least played the first level of the first game. But where they sort of kind of brought this to me, where I felt like I understand that all Metroid games are like this, but it did kind of feel like a 3D Zelda game, not a 3D Zelda game, but it felt like one of the 3D Zelda games in the sense of like you've got these various levels that are kind of like temples. They've each got their own unlockable thing that will help you with the final boss, that you'll learn, everything you need to know to get up to that final boss along the way. But I will say it does feel like instead of just completing one area at a time, like you said, you're attacking this thing almost like you're attacking all of Viros as one giant puzzle. Something that you need for this area, you're going to have to go get over here, but you can't get that until you get this thing over here, which again, I
Mhm.
know it just sounds like I'm describing a Metroid game probably.
Yeah, that is
Okay.
inherent to a Metroidvania. That is what makes them Metroidvanias, to be for the most part. It makes you again utilizing such a small space and trying to make you spend as much time as possible there. You have to go back and forth, and then the way that Metroid does it in this game, I think, is really cool. I mean, I always find myself wanting to get as much power ups or much shots or as many missiles as I can carry, just because I mean that's the fastest way to beat these bosses. You just throw your strongest stuff at them, you're going to get it faster. So
Hmm.
finding that stuff is rewarding in itself. And the way that, again, I'm excited whenever I get a new traversal mechanic. It's like, okay, I remember where I can go. I got to go check out this place because there's definitely something there I can grab or over here. So again, that's something I love about Metroidvania. So it's again, it's for different folks, I guess, you know?
No, for sure. And I think it's, to me, there's an element of, and most of this comes from one of my negatives that I didn't want to jump into yet, which is that desert, which we will talk about probably quite a few times. But I wanted to mention that I, like yourself, I love the getting those new mechanics, unlocking those new mechanics as that are staples to the Metroid games that I played through, that I remembered from the previous ones, that they kind of have in every single one. So it's not
Hmm.
really a spoiler to say that you do get a grapple or a spider ball or what have you. And I loved what those did, like you said, for the puzzles or for the light bulb moments of, oh, I know where this is useful. I know where to use this. I just wish that in terms of the overall traversal, that they would help out a little bit more, that maybe those would unlock some sort of ways to get from the back end of a level all the way to the front of the end of the level even faster. I understand that they do a little bit, but I think that there is a little bit of an opportunity for them to have utilized that for a broader range of traversal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, what I loved about the level design was the fact that when you do return to places, when you're forced to, at least wise, not just trying to get more power ups or more shots or whatever, but when you go back and you go back to the same place you'd already worked your way towards, because you've gotten a new form of traversal by this point, there is a shortcut that takes you right back to the beginning of the level. And then whenever you return, you now have a shortcut to the end of the level. So if you do want to go again hunting for all those missed puzzles or up missiles and upgrades and entry tanks or whatever, you can easily find your way there from these little shortcuts that they give you. It's the level design does give you that in mind. Again, it's just separated by a giant desert in this one.
Correct. And maybe, I guess maybe the thing is that to your point, you had mentioned earlier that you were happy to go back over and over and over and over again to some of these different levels. I was happy to go back for the amount of times that were required of me. I don't know if I was so happy to want to go back in times where I felt like I really didn't need to anymore. And so in those instances, maybe I just, because I was a bit frustrated, maybe I didn't see those shortcuts that take you to the beginning and end of the level or what have you. And so that was maybe a bit of my experience. But let's talk about the desert. The desert, Nintendo. If you're listening to this, you might be. The desert's not great. I think it's interesting because in the last three big releases, at least for me, for Nintendo Switch 2, that I've absolutely adored, this game included. I adored my time with this game. Nintendo seems to be wanting to put something in each game, one big thing that sort of just doesn't quite work, and it sort of hampers the overall experience just a little bit. I think for Mario Kart World, I think the open world was such a cool idea, and it just sort of felt a little bit like an afterthought. I think with Donkey Kong Bonanza, the idea of having each level has its own individual currency was just a strange sort of choice. It didn't impact that game as much as maybe something like this desert. But I think when we get to this game, it feels to me like it was just sort of an afterthought or a way to sort of pad out the game further, or a way to just sort of say, hey, it worked for Zelda with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Let's just take that exact thing and put it into the Metroid Prime franchise. I think it needed a bit more massaging, a little more time in the oven. Darcy, what did you think?
I enjoyed it for the most part. Like again, I liked the aspect of this central hub that you can travel, like go from level to level between. Uh, it does feel a bit empty at times, but at the same
Hmm.
time, the fact that they do give you the collectible that in the green crystals, that again throughout the game there is a reason to find them because you fill up that thing. It is they also do tell you at the beginning of the game that is the end goal is to fill this green thing with crystals so
To
you
get the
can
memory fruit or whatever, the altar.
yes, so they do tell you it, and
Okay,
there's a reason to go for it. And I found myself wanting to go for it again in these
good.
games where I'm like any upper hand I can find, I will do. So that's
Hmm.
why I didn't mind going back and forth because I try and take a different path from point A to point B every time I was going out in
Yeah.
case I missed a crystal the first time, or I can grab those crystals and or maybe find again one of those shrines that's hiding in one of these squares and stuff like that. So what I do think is the issue. It was just empty. There was a lot of space where there could have been something, even if it was just a quick scan or a small upgrade or something. It just there wasn't enough in this empty space, I guess.
Well, and I want to talk about the green crystals for a second because they're probably my least favorite thing in this game. Viola, rad as hell. Riding around on that thing is cool. It feels cool. It feels great. When you do a side bike check into a thing of crystals, oh man, it's the coolest. For the first 4 times, maybe five. But for the 500th time that I had to do it, Darcy, near the end game, if you are listening to this at this point in this podcast, in this review, be like Darcy. Listen to the game telling you that you need to go do this. Do I think, for me personally, that the game did a good enough job incentivizing me to collect those crystals in the mid game? I do not. But I got to the near the end of this game, and imagine maybe not all the Korok seeds, but imagine if you're playing Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, and you had to collect a gross amount of Korok seeds, and you hadn't been doing that throughout the game in order to fight Ganon. It was very frustrating for me. Very frustrating.
So about that, I mean,
Yeah,
I one of the things you get. I mean, we can't go spoilers, but the more you collect, the easier they are to find. And then what
that's
I
true.
found by the end, that end point of the game, there is a specific type of crystal that you can't break until you get your final power up for your bombs,
Hmm.
and those crystals on their own are enough to get you to the end game.
Right. So I could have just done those. If you're
Yeah,
listening, just do those because you'll have a much better experience if you do choose to leave this to the
yeah.
end game like I did or follow what Darcy said. But I just think, to me, a collectible as a sort of a buffer or a blocker to get to the final thing that you really want to get to just to me felt really strange. It didn't feel fun. And I honestly think that they did a great job with those micro shrines or mini puzzles, those mini shrines
Hmm.
throughout the area that had green crystals in them. Honestly, I would have preferred 4 or 5 more of those than anything to do with green crystals as the buffer or blocking point, because at least those were fun. Even getting to the point where you're blowing up things and getting these crystals from around the desert area, I just didn't find it fun. And like you said, because the desert is so empty, it's just kind of boring. And that's not only the other element to it too, where again, because a Metroidvania or a Metroid game requires so much retraversal, if I'm at one part of the map and I got to deposit these crystals, it's like 6 to 7 minutes until I'm, back and
You can just keep
forth.
collecting though. You
I
don't have to deposit once it tells you to. You can
But
just
Miles
keep
keeps
collecting.
calling me on my radio, Darcy, and I think, and
Yeah.
every single time there's a monochrome of hope in my heart that 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 he is saying that because it's time to deposit your last crystal, but it's not. It's not. So like Darcy said, get the big rocks. That's all you need to do. Don't worry about all the other stuff. But I just really do think that this whole element does feel very tacked on. Another few little things from a mechanic standpoint, if we're taking a break from lashing out at the desert here, is I think a fast travel in the end game could be really useful. I understand that maybe that's not necessarily something that is important, or they want you to explore that desert area. But if we've gotten past that and we just want to sort of get our final collectibles, I would really love the ability to just jump from spot to spot to spot to spot. I think that would be really helpful. I don't know if that's unlockable, and maybe I just didn't unlock that because I didn't 100% scan everything, but I don't know.
No, so I don't think there is a fast travel. That's one thing I will say was kind of annoying because they give you a fast travel within your home base because they know it's
Yes.
just slog from the front to your base part of the level. The fact that you don't get that anywhere else is a bit annoying until you get to the story point where it becomes unlocked. It feels annoying because again, that is only within these biomes and it's not across the whole world where some of these, like a lot of these Metroidvanias, at least, that you travel between save points if you wanted to at some point in the game. Like you said, once you get to the point in the story where you're like, oh, now you're just going to clean up what you left behind. Here's an easy way to get around. That's usually when they save it for, and it is weird that we never got one in this game.
And I don't necessarily know if I need, and I understand. Again, we're so happy that we've got a powerful Nintendo console that can give us this level of fidelity and visuals. With that also comes the caveat of it it's not a PS5 with a super fast SSD that I can be playing Ghost of Yote and instantly fast travel from one end of the entire, you know, if all of Ezo, if you will, to the other, right? And so I think I've been a little spoiled by my experiences on PS5, and I definitely recognize that here, but I still feel it every single time that, Samus has to slowly walk through the door before the level will load the next area. Samus has to slowly get inside that little ship that shoots her off to do that fast travel situation. And yes, it is skippable at a certain point after it loads, but it just feels like it takes forever. Does it not? I don't know. Maybe I'm just
No, it
spoiled.
was not bothering me at all.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
you've just been spoiled by fast gaming.
Yeah, yeah. And then the last thing I think we both felt at one point, because I know we both talked about this as like, oh my gosh, yes, saves. You have to save your
I
game.
liked this. I liked this. This was a positive for me,
Okay,
not a negative.
please.
Yes, this is again inherent to a Metroidvania. You need to feel like there's something on the line if you lose. And
Yes,
most games with autosaves don't give you that anymore. You
true.
are saved right outside the boss level. In this one, if you mess up, you are punished, and it is according. And I love that about this game. It's you gotta be smart, save when you can, and make sure you're always doing that. I love it.
I fully agree with you. Unless the thing that messes you up is an auto update to your Nintendo Switch that powers it off, closes the game, and forces you to replay an hour because you didn't save during your lunch break. That's the only, it happened at least 2 times where I just was very frustrated. I understand I have to save, but
Or
still,
just
it's
turn
like
auto update off.
maybe just turn auto update off. Everyone, learn from me, learn from my mistakes. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was, and again, I feel like this is both the best jumping on point for new Metroid fans, and especially Metroid Prime fans. I definitely think so. But know this, I definitely ran into at least 3 or 4 instances at one point in a row where I got to a certain thing and it said, you don't have the thing for that yet. And I understand that's, again, part of the puzzle of a Metroid game. But when it looks like a thing that I can fit into and I roll into it and it says no, and then another thing I get up to looks like a thing I can do, it just, from a mechanics, a design standpoint, it's a little frustrating. So just know that the game will push back on you, maybe harder than you've had in previous FPS experiences. And I know you're smiling right now, Darcy, because you're like, that's just what a Metroid game is. But just be aware of that if you are a new person coming in. I think it's important to understand that and to push past that, because you can't say it's not frustrating for people that maybe haven't experienced that.
No, what I will say, well, it might be frustrating. I think what makes it might make it more frustrating this time around is the fact that the wording they use when you're scanning or checking things is incredibly vague this time around. Where it's like not your no standard weaponry can destroy it. That makes me think nothing I can carry on my person can destroy this thing. But two, three upgrades later, I'm destroying that thing with ease now. It's like
Yeah.
a bit more be specific, like, oh, wait until you upgrade your missiles and you'll get this thing, or like you need to have an upgraded fire shot for this one. Like if it's specific, it'd be great. The vagueness is a bit annoying this time around. I will give it that much.
Thank you. Yes. And I also will say, from a vagueness standpoint, and one more thing that we both, I know we aligned on as well, scanning. I understand scanning. It's a Metroid thing. You scan everything. Scan. If you don't scan literally everything, you will not get the 100% scan rate. I think I had like 74% by the time I rolled credits for scan rate. And I scanned so many things, but I don't know how many times, Darcy, I can scan the same computer terminal, the same door, the same this that looks almost identical. Was it, do I
Yeah.
am I stupid for this, or
No,
was it not
this
done
was a
right?
bit tedious. It's
Yeah.
like they're like, oh, we need to make it hard to get all the scans, so let's make a bunch of things identical that you scan individually, or all these are scanned one at a time. Like it's just the inconsistency with the scanning and the fact that 90% of the time you just be getting an inoperable message. Like, why do I care about this broken computer for this one station if it's broken? It's I get that. Why do I need to scan it 20 more times throughout this level? It's a bit redundant and repetitive. And again, I didn't get to the final or the 100% scans either. I think I got to like 85 or something like that. It
And you
was,
have to scan it when it's broken. You have to scan it when it's semi-fixed, and you have to scan it when it's fixed as well.
and then you have to scan the doors when they're open or locks when they're closed, and then they're unlocked and then they're
I
open.
just
Like it's like 3 or 4 times the same thing you're scanning just for a slightly different outcome. It is so aggravating.
Yeah, I loved scanning the flora, the fauna. I loved learning more about this world. I'm not interested in a door. I'm just not. Okay, so please don't make me scan things that aren't fun or don't really add anything to both the gameplay or the story.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
again, there were sometimes you'd find lucky and you find like, oh, this is now a log, and if you went to your menu log, then you could read a
Yes.
story of the lab or wherever you're exploring, and it's cool that they added that. But the fact that it's buried behind all the crap that doesn't matter takes away from it. Because I have a feeling a lot of people aren't going to go and read those logs because they're just like, oh, it's another random scan, keep on moving type thing. Like, I don't know. It took me out of it.
Yeah, and I will agree. Let's get into story again. We're going to keep things spoiler free for the most part, just our impressions of the story. I think that is maybe the most interesting part of the story. That's for me. That's where it came from. Were those logs, learning about the Lemorn, learning about their history, their experiences, the sacrifices, what went on this planet, and sort of learning. Really, the honestly, I think some of the major story beats are in those logs. So I've heard other critics who have talked about this game who've said that the game feels, the story feels more convoluted or feels disjointed, and I think a lot of that might have to do with maybe they weren't necessarily reading those logs, or maybe they weren't necessarily scanning the right thing to get the right little piece of information. And again, I understand all of this is part of the exploration, the discovery, but those really worked for me. Those actually I found worked for me more than maybe some of the other areas of the story. But what did you think of the story in Metroid Prime 4 Beyond?
The story was really cool. Again, I like that they were trying something new, taking her to this planet, removing space pirates from the whole Metroid of it all, and even removing the Metroid from it. Now we're just facing this new threat on a new planet. It was really cool. The way they kind of again, hid some of the story behind those logs or behind some of those out of the way scans that you need to find, I feel like is gonna hinder some people's enjoyment or at least understanding of the story. Again, it's weird to say that I liked it, but I think they could have told it better. Is
Yeah.
I think where I'm standing, because it is a really engaging story, and just again the people or the Lemorn people, like you said, what they went through to try and save their planet, and what we're seeing as a result of what they've done. It's such a cool storyline that it really deserves time to be told and explored through these logs. But I wish it was again a bit easier for people to enjoy it.
Yeah, I almost feel like there could have been, like you said, there could have been done better. There could have been a better balance of putting that a little more front forward than maybe some of the other stuff. I did want to talk about the characters. We've it's not just Samus on this adventure. There are some fantastic soldiers that you are working alongside. I don't have all their names fully memorized. I know like there's Sarge. I did. His name is
Duke.
Duke, right? Okay. And then we've got Nora, who I really liked. I liked
Yeah.
Takabi, was
Yeah, he
cool.
was cool. The way that we kind of got some of his story in the overworld, something to look for in the overworld. A bit more of that would have been nice too, with
Yes,
other characters maybe.
100%, 100%, and not just Miles from home base telling you constantly to
Where to go
do
5
check your
seconds after you
map.
start looking for where to go. That is, yeah. I love the character of Miles, but he could have just been like 90% more quiet.
Yeah,
Like
people in the previews felt like he was a detriment to this game. I wouldn't go that far, but I definitely agree that he's annoying.
he's an ear sore. At the
Yeah,
very least, he's an ear sore.
yeah. Now, I think maybe the MVP character for me is View. I think View was absolutely phenomenal. I love just some of the different lines that you would hear from View. I apologize, but we will now destroy you. Like just the very almost like kind of sounding like Optimus Prime a little bit, but just some of that sort of funny silliness that I think in these games that are very sort of more they're a lot darker
Cold and dark, yeah.
right for a Nintendo game. I really appreciate it, and I like that approach to making you smile way more than anything that came out of Miles' mouth.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
View is great when he worked. I mean, he was the only character I really had issues with in that he would sometimes just disappear
sure.
and I wouldn't be able to get past certain doors because he was gone.
Yes.
So that's when I did some unnecessary backtracking through levels that really got me upset because I'd run to the beginning of the level and then back to where I lost him. And right
Yeah.
when I enter the room where I lost him, he's just like, "I'm ready to proceed when you are." I'm like, "I've been ready this whole time, man. Where have you been?" But as a character, I did enjoy him.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there are some fun elements with him way more than any of the other characters from a gameplay standpoint. I really do. I did appreciate how it felt more like he was part of another mechanic in certain parts of this game. Not like a mechanic, like he's fixing things, but a gameplay mechanic. Although I'm sure he'd be a great mechanic too. But no, I did feel like he added a bit more for me than some of the other characters. But I will say I did care about these characters. I actually liked them and cared about some of the different story beats and some of the different moments. Um, but I think the only other thing I will say from like a negative standpoint for the story, I did enjoy it overall. There are some flashes that you're going to see throughout this game. And I'm almost wondering, and maybe you can tell me, Darcy, I'm almost wondering if maybe it didn't really make a ton of sense or feel like it had enough payoff by the end for me personally. Is that because I'm not as familiar with some of the backstory and some of the story from previous entries in the franchise? Or do you agree that it is disjointed and doesn't really feels like maybe more setup than a payoff?
So it's interesting because the payoff that you're talking about was teased at in the last Prime game and in previous games with the character at least. But how they get there in this thing does feel like an afterthought.
Hmm.
The way that the story of that payoff and the overall story don't necessarily flow well together until you get some of the stuff that if you fully complete the game will be unlocked for you apparently. So like it's a
Okay.
very interesting way of telling a story for at least setting up this final antagonist that feels disjointed from the rest of the story. It's weird.
So again, almost taking the scan everything, find everything so harshly that you're almost doing a disservice to your overall narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, listen, we've talked a lot about this game. I think we're going to give it a score. We're going to give some of our final thoughts. For those listening, if you have beaten the game, once we get past our final thoughts, we are going to talk spoilers, final moments, and what we're hoping for the future. So after we give our final score, I'll give you a big spoiler warning. You can feel free to drop out then if you haven't beaten the game and come back afterwards. But Darcy, give me your final thoughts and score for this game, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, on a scale of 1 to 5 green energy crystals.
Surprised you're choosing that as your rating system.
It's-
Uh, I I really enjoy my time with this game. Again, when you spend so much time with the game, you're gonna be things you're gonna gripe about and be bugged with. But that's any game, I think. Even a good game is gonna get on someone's nerves at some time. So that's not to say anything that like, I didn't like this game based on what we've said before, but because it looks incredible, it runs so well. No
Yes.
matter how I played it, I loved that aspect. The puzzles were very engaging. The boss fights were so much fun, and they felt not quite on the level of Elden Ring rewarding when you finally beat them, but the puzzles you have to go through and some of these things to figure out how to do the damage you need to is so rewarding. And I love that aspect of Metroid games, and it was on full display here. Uh, Again, the only issue I have is some of those story beats being kind of hidden below a lot of layers, like the scanning and stuff like that. And then again, at times some of these areas do feel a bit empty when you're running around and you've gotten a lot of things and you kill things really fast. It doesn't have that challenge anymore. But needless to say, I'm a huge Metroid fan. I can't wait for whatever entry is next in Samus' story because I will definitely be playing it just as much as I played this one, and I'll be giving this one 4 out of 5 green energy crystals.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And I cannot believe I mean, I think I mentioned bosses, but dude, yeah, the boss fights are so good in this game. They were
Mm-hmm.
so rewarding, and you're absolutely right. Finding your way through them. I mean, I think, as far as I understand, that is very much a Metroid thing, is to not just make them punishing, because they are, and there's some really
Mm-hmm.
tough fights in this game, but to make them engaging, fun, and dynamic. And every single one felt somewhat different. It didn't just feel like a spam fest every single time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way they make you use those different mechanics, you're absolutely right. From the first boss all the way to the last one. Overall, I had a really, really great time with this game. I think the puzzles were intriguing, the mechanics were solid. The story does get kind of cheesy at times too. There's some moments where I was like, "Oh, are you sure we're doing that again? Okay, all right, okay, I guess." But it didn't stop me from caring about these characters surrounding Samus and Samus herself. The desert area is a big swing and an even bigger miss for what could have been a very cool addition to the way these games are played. I understand what they were going for, but for me, they missed the mark. I think more shrines, more things that are fun to do in that place, and a little bit, just filling it out a little bit more. But even if not, even if it is an empty wasteland, more things that are fun to actually do to discover things rather than just a collectathon, I would very much appreciate. With that said, the atmosphere in these biomes is incredible. The graphics are some of the best we've seen on a Nintendo, handheld or otherwise. All of that makes it a very great jumping on point for people who, like myself, who've maybe sort of dabbled in the franchise here and there. If they can get rid of those damned energy crystals and maybe implement something better, and also make the scans more fun, I will. I'll be even more excited for the next entry. I'm already excited to see where Samus's story goes next. But for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, I'm giving it a very solid 4 out of 5 energy crystals. Okay, you're only able to blow up one energy crystal, Darcy. Okay, and then you got to go all the way back. And anyways, that is it for our spoiler-free review for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We hope you enjoyed it. And this is your spoiler warning now. We are about to jump in to the final end game, the final moments of this game, and talk full spoilers. So this is your warning. Metroid is coming to suck on your brain right now if you don't follow this warning. I don't know. Is
I
that how
mean, that's what
Metroids
they
work?
do. I just don't
That's
know
what they
why you
do, right?
said it so
Okay.
weirdly. Like,
Neither do I. Anyways, that was your warning. Darcy, Silux is our final boss. Chrono Tower, we get it. You know, we finally get Betsy all up and running, which, by the way, I have to mention, I did actually like the collecting of the various mech parts. I thought that was actually pretty smart.
that's one thing you liked. Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it was
Did you not
cool.
like it? I thought
No,
it
I
was
liked it
better than
too. I mean,
crystals.
again, I was having driven around the area multiple times. I passed those
Yeah.
mech parts so much. I'm like, when can I start doing something with these? When can I start doing something with these? So by
Sure.
the time we get it, I'm like, boom, 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 boom. Okay, got all the mech parts. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was very quick for me at that point. But yeah, Silex being the final boss, it was teased at the end. And again, one of the secret endings of Metroid Prime 3, and then I think he was set up in Metroid Prime Hunters, like you were talking about that DS game, was his introduction as a character.
Oh wow, the
And
one that much less people played, I guess.
yes, I'm pretty sure that's when he was introduced.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're getting his like almost origin over the course of this story is interesting, especially because to get the full origin thing, you need to 100% complete it, and then you get a cutscene added to your gallery at the end of the game. That is the flashbacks that Samus has in chronological order, and you see why he hates Samus so much. It,
Yes.
it's very weird that it was the path they wanted to go with that story, because if we had maybe learned that a bit more through interactions with the rest of the crew as she has these flashbacks, maybe I'd care more about him turning up at the end and really being there finally. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It felt like out of nowhere and just shoved in there. Not to say I didn't enjoy the fight. That was the hardest one in the game, and it took me probably a good 3 hours to like finally beat it the way, like, to get through it. I'd
Yeah,
say
I
on and
I was
off.
playing on normal. You were playing on normal as well?
Yes, you can't play hard
Yes.
until later on, but like
Oh, right.
the
But we weren't playing on easy. We're not
no,
babies.
no. I think
So
maybe it was about 2 hours for me. 3 hours seems like a little longer, but about a good 2 hours. It took me 3 or 4 tries, and it is a slog of a fight.
your overall playtime was
I think I clocked in at 17 and a half or 18, something like
makes sense.
that.
I think I was
Yeah.
15 for mine, but I definitely didn't get as many unlockables or scannables as you.
Oh yeah, I had 100% objects and 85 100% items and 85% scans. So
Wow.
I was close. I just like gave up on the scanning because I did not want to go back anywhere.
And scan another door.
Yeah.
I did think that final boss fight, you're right, was great. It was really fun. I thought the dragon moments of the dragon arms coming out was cool. And I did like how, for a certain degree, it did feel like, okay, now make sure you're using this version of your weapon, right? Use the ice on the fire, use the fire on the ice, whatever. Um, I did feel as though, and maybe this was maybe again a gameplay side of me. Maybe I just wasn't using the powered up versions of those blasts as much as I should. But I felt like I wasn't able to consistently kill the elemental variants of the arms as often before he would go back to the green arms. Did you find
Yeah.
that as well, or
I think that was by design though. Like
okay?
if you scan them, because I was scanning at that point, I wanted to try and to see what scans you get post like point of no return. But as you scan them, it does say the more damage will revert them to their base energy type thing, or their base state, which is the green. So basically, you're just trying to damage until you get to the point where they go back to green. It's not like you're going to defeat all of them at once, anyways. And again, the
Okay,
mouse mode I found
thought
really
that was
helped
the
in
point.
that battle specifically,
Yeah.
because the ends of the heads took more damage. You having the mouse for that to get to the ends of the heads, fantastic.
Huge, because I will say playing on a pro controller and having it constantly lock on Silux himself
In the
and
middle,
being like,
it's
no, I don't want to aim there. No, I don't want to aim there was tough. And meanwhile, I'm trying to help Miles, who's fallen over for the 900th time, get
I
back
got all
up.
four knocked down at one point. It was
Oh
like,
my
what are
gosh.
you guys doing?
Yeah,
We're like,
not
do
helping at all.
something. Don't sit together.
Yeah. The little in between area of before you get to Final Destination is what it looked like to me from
That's
Smash Bros.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that sort of that tubular flying area with the free aim. I thought it was fun the first time. The fifth time that I had to do it, I was like,
Yep.
why are we still doing this? Why isn't the checkpoint past that?
And I somehow got worse at it every time I did it, which doesn't make sense to me. So
Yeah.
I kept going into that final section with less and less health because I got my butt stomped during those dragon fights. So
Yeah.
it wasn't fun, but it was a cool way to give you that moment to be like, here's a breathing space.
Sure.
Just heal up if you can. The first time is fun. It'll get old. Just hopefully you beat him this time. Like,
Yeah, and I will say, if you're ever going to go back and play it again, the psychic blasts in those sections, that's key. You have to be using psychic blasts to navigate around all the things he's throwing at you.
Well, because
Huge.
the psychic blast was my savior when I figured it out in the end, like the
Yes,
Final Destination
which was
stage,
great.
when he starts the green eye above his head.
Yep.
Psychic blast, that crap.
That was sick. And
Yeah.
I did love how it was pulling it in, and you had to be like, no.
Yeah, it's the only one you could control. So you're like, no, you got to control it into him.
Really good stuff. Really good stuff. I do agree. I think that final battle was great. I thought it was interesting that the story decided to end on a somber note. Though I will say, and I mentioned that during our spoiler-free section, that it was very cheesy with how many times? I think at least
They
twice
get
or
out of
three
it.
times.
Like
How many
they all
times? Yeah, two.
sacrificed for
Two.
Samus.
I'm
Like
gonna sacrifice for Samus. I'm gonna sacrifice again for Samus. You're all still alive, so I have no thought in my brain that all of those people are still alive at the end of this game.
yeah, I think it's kind of cold of Samus to kind of treat them like they aren't. Planting a tree, giving up the one key to the teleporting stuff
Yes.
that they had, and
Yeah.
now she's like, okay, I gotta hang this guy's medallion on this tree like a memento of his death. Like I don't know. Maybe Silas did kill him. Silas did kill them, or maybe they just blew up in the aftermath of the teleporter. I don't know. Will we return to Vuros? Who
We'll never
knows?
know. Maybe we'll never see them ever again. I hope we do though. First, some of them. If they're like Miles didn't make it, I'm like, it's okay.
No, Miles is just an AI program now, so he's gonna be in
Oh
every
no,
game telling you where to go. It's
he's
like,
gonna
oh
be
no,
a flying drone that follows you around that
the
says,
new
"Hey,
Navi, and
listen."
it's gonna be even worse.
Oh man. Okay. Quick question for you, Darcy. I watched the alternate endings on YouTube. Did you watch the alternate endings on YouTube?
Yes, I had to because I usually get that point myself, and this
Yeah.
time I didn't have the time nor the you know oomph to stick it through all those scanning things, so I didn't get it this time around.
So this is the spoiler warning for everyone who has beat the game, who maybe still wants to work towards and hasn't looked it up on YouTube. But I know for myself, I ain't going back and scanning 900 more doors. So so as much fun as I had with the game, and maybe I will play it again for the story beats and for the experience, in the future. I kind of feel like I want to go back to Metroid Dread more than anything right now. But the alternate sequence, seeing Samus's face, I think was such a cool homage to that original alternate ending. And I can imagine for those who aren't listening to this, who have decided to go and unlock it themselves, is super awesome. And getting to see that. And again, it's the exact same cutscene. We just see her face. What did you think of the character model of Samus?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that one of the best looking faces we get is a reward for completing the game to its fullest.
It's true.
But she looks great, and
Yeah.
I do like the idea that it is just a callback to that first game, and it's not like it's adding anything different or new, unless we're counting that gallery edition afterwards. But the
Yep.
fact that the main ending is the same regardless is cool because it means there's a consistency to it. It's not like a secret ending that some people may not have even gotten to in the old games and therefore not know who Silex is or Silex will be coming back. So the fact that this ending, regardless of secret or not, it's the same outcome is really cool.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like it's a nice to have, but not a need to have.
Hmm.
And again, I think when we talk about locking things, locking story beats away that should be more forefront, the Silux amiibo or getting 100% scans will unlock another cutscene that is out
That's the
there,
one I'm
and
talking
that's when
about.
you were
Yeah.
talking about Darcy with Silux. Yeah, what'd you think
Yeah.
of it?
I think it's really cool. Again, you finally understand why he's got this vendetta against Samus, and it makes sense. I just wish I learned it before fighting him. Like the payoff, like to get that, or at least in the moments of his defeat, to get this memory or the full explanation of why he's doing this would make more sense to me. I guess at least explain why he's been so gung ho about it the entire game.
I think if this was the flashback that we got, maybe Samus has a moment where she has another flash, and then it goes into the full flashback right before the sequence with Silux. Yeah, dude, would have paid off way more than completing every scan or buying an amiibo. So
Yeah.
just a strange decision, and again, one of those things that it's like I love some of the aspects of how much the game pushes back, but that's a bit too far, in my
Hmm.
opinion. Just from a standpoint of when it starts damaging the experience personally, and for a lot of people, not just people that are like, I love to scan everything. It's like, okay, cool. I'm happy you have that. That's probably not the majority,
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But Darcy, we did it. We talked about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond in its entirety.
Hmm.
That is it for our review and discussion for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to share your thoughts on this game or any of the games or movies or series we cover, well, let me just reach out through my radio to the bounty hunter Samus Aran to see if she can deliver the keys to Darcy so he can let you know what elements you need to master in order to contact us.
I'm still waiting. I mean, who knows how long it's going to take her to get here?
It's true. She's pretty
Anyways,
far
if they want
away.
to reach if they want to reach us, they can reach us on wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or if that's too much like waiting for Santa's to come from the other side of the galaxy, you can reach us on Twitter @geekcentricyt or on Instagram @wearegeekcentric.
Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies and TV shows, including our recent spoiler-free reviews for Avatar, Fire and Ash, Percy Jackson and the Olympians Season 2, Zootopia 2, as well as our TIFF reviews for Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery, Rental Family, Sentimental Value featuring Eric Marchin, Frankenstein, Smashing Machine, Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, and many more, as well as some summer reviews like Predator Badlands or Star Wars Visions Volume 3. Plus, we've got some great interviews to check out, like our most recent interviews with some of the talented folks behind Prime Video's Fallout. We had the absolute pleasure to welcome Aaron Moten, who plays Maximus, to the podcast, where we discussed where we find Maximus at this point in season 2, and gain some insight into his performance, both inside and outside his power armor. Plus, we were also joined by executive producer and director at Bethesda Game Studios and executive producer on the Fallout series, Todd Howard, and Jonathan Nolan, who serves as co-creator and executive producer, writer, director, and showrunner for the show. With them, we dig into the question that has plagued me for the longest time, Darcy, watching this show. Is the character of Cooper Howard named after Todd Howard? And he gives an interesting answer. Let's just say that. Jonathan also discusses the reflections from this series that reflect back on our world and kind of how messed up things are, both in the show and in our own world. And both of them then sort of bring it back to a happy place to talk about their love of the music in both the games and the series. So check out those interviews either here on your podcast service of choice or over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. We also started something new. We started a new venture called Eatcentric, where we kind of get together and share our thoughts on the geeky bites that bring us together. Our most recent video is out now, our holiday video, where Darcy and I tried the actual Nero's Pizza for the 25th anniversary of the theatrical release of Home Alone. Was it truly a delicious cheese pizza? You can catch the video and find out and hear about all that tasty goodness over on our Instagram and TikTok at We Are Eatcentric. Darcy, is it still winter yet, or is it still fall? I ask you every time.
Still winter, or sorry, still fall.
It's
winter
still fall.
starts 21st.
Winter starts on the 21st. Okay, keep your calendar open, because we're going to keep things hot with more coverage for Avatar, Fire and Ash, as well as Pluribus. We got something coming up with Pluribus, which is a fantastic series. Darcy, have you started watching Pluribus yet?
I've started. I haven't caught up yet, so no spoilers.
No spoilers for sure. No spoilers for sure. But we will be putting out some stuff with Pluribus, with some of the talented folks behind that series, both spoiler free and even a bit of spoilers for episode 8. So those will be coming out after that episode debuts. So be sure to subscribe. You can join us in all that Geekcentric goodness. Darcy, thank you so much for joining me for this Prime discussion and review. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.